Alright, so a quick video here of my Xenolord army against Moonlord Master. So this is my favorite Xenolord army, now maxed with the training crystals and peaches for the trust. So trust seems to be pretty good on Xenolord because it is lacking in stats a little bit. It does have a lot of exclusive attacks to sort of make up for it. But if you compare it to like the attack stat on Neptilius and Jet Dragon, it falls a little bit short compared to the other like raid pals and legends and stuff like that, but it does have this cosmic meteor that looks pretty interesting against Moonlord. Did try out some of the other exclusives like Astral Ray and Satellite Bit, but they just seem to be pretty bad overall compared to just running this Beam Slicer and Dark Wisp. So you could have been doing this with Invader instead of this Impatient army. So this army was mainly made to counter Xenolord himself back in Faebreak. So it is running this Impatient, which is comparable to Demon God from the previous test. So a little bit of a DPS loss from just running Invader over Impatient. But if you do run Invader, you lose out if you do want to use the army against the other raid bosses. So it's a little bit of a like give and take there. And then we can see for Cosmic Meteor, it is hitting pretty well for these eyes, but then the tackle just doesn't do anything. They just sort of seem to fall down. Another kind of plus for Xenolord, I guess, is the smaller hitbox. So if you compared it to, I guess, like Shadowbeak is a pretty fair comparison. Shadowbeak's wings are pretty wide, meaning that this laser, you can see that the laser didn't really wipe out that Xenolord that got hit. So a small hitbox, together with the bonus from Trust, seems to do pretty well. But they can get hit while they're also in the air, which seems to wipe out quite a few Xenolords every now and then. So there is still this sort of, I guess, like luck-based factor. Sometimes all the Xenolords just get wiped out in one go when they're in the air, and sometimes they all just survive. Same thing with hitting the hands here. Like you can see a couple of fights if you're doing it yourself. Sometimes Dark Wisp and Beam Slicer will just miss. So for this raid army, I did the fight 3 times just as my previous tests, just to get a sort of semi-fair comparison, and it does vary quite a lot. Like if they can easily miss a full wave of 15 or 13 in this case Beam Slicers and Dark Wisps, and then you have to wait that whatever it is, like 30 seconds or something for it to come off cooldown again. So that seems to be like the main difference really between the attempts, if they missed the hands moving or not. So this was, out of these 3 fights, the fights you're watching right now was the best fight, ending here at around 7:30, because once the hands go down the fight is pretty quick. So the average time became 7:07, pretty comparable with something like Necromus and Shadowbeak, losing out a little bit to Finsider, Ignis, and Neptilius being the strongest one out there really. Neptilius' best attempt was at 8 minutes. The other attempts for Xenolord were 7:02 and 6:49. So those were the attempts when it just missed like a wave of Beam Slicers and a wave of Dark Wisps. And this one right here was the one that was successful in hitting. So still running this Impatient, you could do the trick with the Global Pal box where you breed it to have Invader, and then you replace Invader with Impatient for the other raids, and then you can always override it again. But for now, thanks for watching.